so I just wanted to talk about learning chords and crunching through chord inversions and things today. And I think that's one of the most kind of mechanical things we have to do as a jazz musician, along with learning scales and all that kind of thing. So I always think with this kind of work it's best not to spend too many hours a day doing it, otherwise we will just get sucked into that, but rather practice it little and often. Now there's various ways of systematizing chords. One venerable way is to use the drop system. So I'll just explain that to you quickly, right? So basically, this is something that doesn't really translate awfully well onto the guitar fretboard, but there's one close position major 7th chord. This is, let's do it in C. C major 7th right here, okay? And these are the notes all stacked up on top of each other in order. So we've got 1, 3, 5, 7, like that, right? 7 on top, okay? Other, voicings for, major 7ths can be extremely difficult to play. What about this one, for instance? Oof. Yeah, I haven't really spent a lot of time trying to play these things. Ben Wonder can do it, but not many can. So in order to render voicings playable on the guitar, what we end up doing is we end up moving some of those notes down by an octave. Now, the most common one is to employ what we call, on the guitar, is to employ what we call a drop 2. So what does that mean? Okay. Well, a drop 2 is when we take the second note from the top, which in this case is this note here, the G, the 5th of the C major 7th, and we transpose it down an octave. Now we get something that we have to refinger. We refinger it like this, and hopefully that should be a lot more familiar as a chord voicing, right? Okay. So these drop 2 voicings like this, and then like that, right? They're very common to the guitar. You see them a lot. Sorry, so that was meant to be that one. Okay, and we can use them for block chords and all sorts of things. Another very common chord voicing that we use is what we call the drop 3. So it's a third note from the top. 1, 1, 2, 3. If we put that down to the bottom, we get this. Okay, which is perhaps not the most familiar shape you've ever seen in your life from a major 7th, but if I put it like this, and then like this, and then especially like this, you might start to recognise what that's all about. Yeah? Okay? So that's the basics of it. Now, there's other voicings such as the drop 2 and drop 2, 3, I think it is. I always forget this. So, and we put that one down, right? And we end up with this. And that's very popular with people like Gilad Hexelman and Pasquale Grasso, who want a voicing where the melody stands aside from the chord. So you've kind of got this little chord shape there, which is all close together, and then up here somewhere a note that, is in a completely different place, registrally speaking. Okay? Yeah, like that. So, now, that's all very well, but I find like the whole idea of the drop system is a little bit unguitaristic because it works great on the piano, but in terms of actually visualising how all of these work on the guitar, sometimes it can be a bit alien and a bit academic. So I tend to view things usually either from the bass, so first inversion, second inversion, reposition, whatever, and also from the treble. And I think actually I haven't heard many people talk about organising voicings from the melody note, but when you think about it, that is kind of the way it might be most useful. The drop system itself is always thinking about the melody, because you're always thinking about dropping notes from the top rather than from the bass. So I think this is a good way to think about it, just that the drop system is a little bit hard to understand as a guitarist, whereas perhaps it might be easier if you just think about harmonising a melody note. So let's start with the 7th here, right? So we've got this, we've got this, now we've got the two voicings that I showed you a minute ago, so this one That one rather. Got this one as well. One very stretched out voicing. Okay, so that's not all of them. You can notice that each of these has got separate, different bass note. Maybe I can stretch out even more by having a fifth here and a seventh here, and a third maybe in here somewhere, and maybe, you know, or maybe the third can go here and the root can go there. Okay, so we've already moved away from kind of the more conventional voicings that you might be aware of. I mean, there's another one with seventh on top, with another position. You know, or this. There's your standard drops, but then you might use that as well, right? Okay. So that's great. I think that's really useful. I don't think like third inversion with a B in the bass is much use. Obviously, in the case of where the melody is actually a B, you wouldn't normally double that note anyway in a four-note voicing. But to me, the third inversion major seventh sounds like a different chord. But that's not a reason not to practice them. And not all of these voicings are practical or useful, but it's still good to kind of know what they are anyway. Okay, let's get down to the next note. Let's do a fifth here, right? Okay, so this is. Can we do a close position? So that would be quite hard. Yeah, I can't really do that. It'd be like that, right? You can imagine such a thing. But then we have the drop 2, which is this. Drop 3, which is this. Right? Sorry about the intonation, tuning. Okay, and then if we're going further, then maybe we can go 7th, 5th, so that means we need a third. Actually, I quite like that one. And maybe you want to go down to the 5th, so that's the 5th double, so you won't have that one. But hopefully you can appreciate that also, you know, if I put the third there, I could also put the third here. So I can rearrange the notes in the middle of the chord as well. Okay? Right, so that's fine. Let's go to the third. Let's have, oh yeah, sorry, there's other positions as well, like this one. And you know, this is the. Okay, gets a little bit more difficult to play. I suppose so. It's all right for playing the 7th, isn't it? So 7th, 3rd. That's a 5th there. Maybe a 1 would be good. That'd be something like this. Okay. And you could also, I suppose, you could have an inversion where you have that 7th there, sorry, 2nd. So the 7th rubbing against the 1 and then the 5th there. That's quite a nice one. Hard to finger though. You know, up here maybe. More practical. It's hard to play though on this guitar. Okay. So you might want that tension, that sort of dissonance of a semitone in the middle of your major 7th voicing. As I say, major 7th chords are a bit weird. That's why they're kind of fun to play around with. They're the most weird sounding normal chord I can imagine. And it's all to do with that 7th. You can harmonise the... well, I was doing the 3rd, wasn't I? Sorry, I got a bit distracted. Yeah, the 3rd. Okay, so 3rd, 7th, 5, 1, well, we're all familiar with that. Sometimes it's nice to play, for instance, Peter Bernstein prefers this voicing for a major 7th, without the 5th and a double 3rd instead. So you've got those alternatives as well. You can double notes if you want, although I'm kind of keeping this to voicings that don't have notes doubled, just for the sake of the exercise, really. Okay, so there, well, what would we want in the bass apart from that? Maybe a 5th, so 5th. That's a 3rd there, so we wouldn't want that. Yeah, like this maybe. Well, that's a weird sounding one. Maybe this. A bit more normal sounding. Okay. Other than the root. there, or this very weird sounding third inversion. Oof, not sure about that. I was only my third there, wasn't I? Yeah, so maybe this. Yeah, be that better like that. A bit more familiar as well. Okay, so that's how you can get through your major sevenths. How many have I played? Let me see if I can count. Let me count all the major sevenths I've played. I'll probably miss out a couple now. Oh yeah, there's that one as well, which is quite nice. So the seventh on top. And this isn't all the chords, by the way. This isn't all the possible inversions. These are just the ones that are popping up in my mind's. So that's 4. 4 of those, and then I mean we won't count the refingering. And let me just do that again. 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Yeah, okay, fine. Then we're going to do the next one down, which is the 5th. So this sort of thing. 2, 3, 4. So it's already 9 possible major sevenths we've got, and so on. So very rapidly you build up a picture of all the possible combinations, which makes things a little bit less terrifying. Now, one use of that, of course, is like if I'm playing something like maybe Just Friends, which starts on the 7th. So you have. I'm not limited to just using that sort of drop 2 shape that I always use. Maybe I can use this. So that first chord can be harmonised this way, or this way. That's quite nice, isn't it? Yeah. So hopefully you can see right away that it has its own value, and of course you want to be doing this for all the different chord sounds as well. So for instance, you want to be doing it for half diminished, for instance, or dominant 7th altered or something, dominant 7 flat 5, whatever it is, so which is where it gets, you can start to see that the work is, it's not it's not nothing. If you got, that kind of thing, or this kind of thing, And it's probably worth just going through 5 minutes every day, just picking a chord type and just doing as much of that as you can. I mean, I suggest timing yourself on your phone or whatever, and just doing that. And then when you're done, moving on to something else. And you will slowly build up a picture of all these different inversions and how you can use them in your playing. In practice, you might not use all of them. That's absolutely fine. You'll probably find there's sounds you particularly like and sounds you don't like so much. And also, just the physical nature of playing, you may well find yourself playing things that fit, easily under your fingers. So this might probably come up a bit more than this, maybe. Although if you spend a lot of time getting really good at playing stretchy voicings, you'll probably get good at doing those as well. So you should see it as a kind of resource of possible colours you can use in your music, rather than necessarily something that has to be absolutely mastered so that you can use every single inversion in your playing. At least that's how I put it. That's how I think of it anyway. Thanks for watching anyway. Let me know any comments you might have below. Thanks.